Yeah, it's going to be one of those. Hi there, my name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 289, and I hope you're having a good day. So, we are almost all the way through August already. Wow, August the 20th, and it's so funny. You sit there at like the end of July, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's August, and July 4th seems so far away. You had that like little point in time that seems like forever ago when you realize there's only 3 weeks. And I hear this gets worse as you get older. So, days go by faster, days go slower, weeks go faster, years fly by kind of routine. So personalities. Wow, there are some personalities out there. I got an interesting call from our commercial manager. She wanted to talk about male ego. All right. And, various reasons, she's one of those people. It's like everything negative is the masculine aspect and everything positive, sunshine, jelly beans, it's, sugar and spice and everything nice is the feminine aspect of the personality. But she wanted to talk about ego because she had an interaction with a young man that she was mentoring and who had not done a particular kind of commercial deal. So she was walking him through it. And the other side of the transaction was not necessarily a colleague, but somebody she had worked with before in the past. And during the course of the negotiations, it went bad. And, she was like, I think it was this young man's ego, this male ego, that he felt the need. He had to win and he had to get the best out of the deal. And I'm sitting there trying to explain to her that I get that on both sides. I see that boss bee attitude from female agents who just come at you really hot and heavy, and a lot of younger agents, especially if they're spending way too much time on YouTube, not this channel, but those channels, talking about how you need to be alpha and you need to dominate the conversation and you got to break through that glass ceiling. You go girl, or you get them, you get them stud, whatever that behavior is. All right. They carry it over. And I blame it for a lack of leadership and mentoring from senior agents. And so I'm sitting there talking to her, and it's like, what you need to do is you need to sit him down. And if for some reason you could play a card and get the agent on the other side and do a post-mortem. How did this go wrong? All right. And let him know personally. All right. You are burning a relationship I have took decades to grow. That's what this industry is. All right. Especially on the commercial side. All right. You get a reputation and it takes decades to grow. All right. And it was Warren Buffett. All right. Has a quote, and I really things I need to look up before I start recording. And it was like, you can cost me money, but you do not cost me my reputation. I will destroy you. That little I will destroy you might be something on the other side. So, hold on. VFW drama, speaking of personalities. And it is that reputation that you build early on interacting with human beings really, really does affect you later on. And if you're just looking at today, if you're living in the now and you're just thinking about the next deal and let's get this deal done and you will burn people, right? If you act, like it's that much of a competition. Now, last week I discussed the situation where we had an agent who had a client going crossways. And he had, I was like, you need to bring this up with the other agent and let them know they're your best friend. There's so many times when I'm counseling a younger agent, and I'm like, you need to call the other agent on the other side. You two need to work out a solution on this and then present that solution to your clients. Right. So it doesn't really work early on, burning that relationship right out of the get-go. All right. We're not that adversarial. We're looking out after the best interests of our clients. We're making sure everything goes smoothly. All right. But that agent on the other side, it's like a boxing ring. Okay. We don't really hate each other. We don't need to hate each other after the fight. Or a football game. How many times do you see guys on opposite teams pat each other on the butt? All right. Because you respect your opponent. All right. So, a little follow-up on this, just with the VFW thing, all right, is that we're having drama at the Post again. And same thing. There is an individual out there who has spent a good portion of the last year burning everybody around him. All right. And it's just like now it's come to a head. All right. And I'm struggling trying to find a, impartial jury. All right. Because everybody's got an opinion of this individual. All right. And it's like, hey, we got to sit here and like what our personal feels are about him. We got to keep it within the corners of the big piece of paper. All right. There's 3 pages of this. This is the incident report. All right. And we got to keep it within the 4 corners of what they told it. And we're having a conversation of like, well, how much of his past behavior do we bring in on this? Okay, are we only going to deal with this particular thing? Now, if that individual had not gone out of his way to alienate everybody at some point in time, all right, this will probably be a lot easier. Hey, yeah, had a bad day. Acted up. All right, don't even know why. So these are the things, floating around out there. So what are you doing today? Okay. What kind of relationship baggage are you carrying on? All right. That somebody burned you 6 months ago and you're like, you're just holding that grudge. You're just waiting. I'm going to get him back. I can get him back. It's going to happen. I'm going to put that in my little pocket of grievances. All right. I actually have a flower bed of grievances. I plant my little grievances. I water them. I nurture them with hate. All right. And when they're perfectly bloomed, then it's time to snip that sucker. So, joking. I just really like that analogy. So, other thing that came in that I thought was really interesting. A couple weeks ago, I was talking about AI in real estate. Well, Inman, and this like literally came across my phone. It is like talking about how 91.5% of top producing agents out there do not show up on AI searches. Who does show up on AI searches is those agents who are really good at self-promotion. Now, we had a class that was, I could have attended, but I didn't. I think I was doing real estate at the time instead of going to classes of how to make sure that the AI thinks that you're number one. What kind of code words and phrases and buzzes do you do to, and where do you do it? All right. Google looks at Google. Okay. I'm going to show up higher on Google right now because I have a Google business platform. All right. And I also have, this YouTube channel. Right. And Google's listening to us right now. All right. And, because of what I say on there, if Google's suddenly looking for an answer to a question that you ask, and for some reason back in episode 279, I'm the only person in the universe to address that subject. Google's little AI bot will pull that up and go, wow, well, if you have that problem, you should talk to Ray Dawson because Ray Dawson, because I'm the only person out there associated with that issue. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm the best person for that job. I'm just the only one the algorithm actually has heard deal with that. There might be some guy out there, he's like 75 years old, right, and does nothing but affix trailers to, properties legally. Right? There actually is a guy out there. Nobody knows about him except for a handful of escrow agents and me, and now you. All right? But I've talked about affixing trailers to lots legally so you can borrow against the property. If I'm the only person out there who has said that and I promote that, if you ever come across and you ask ChatGPT or, Claude or any of those things, hey, how do I do this? I need a real estate agent can do this. They're going to point you at me, even though I'm not going to be the person who does it. What you really want is that 75-year-old. that make sense? All right. So, like I said, and I'm speaking a little bit of hypocrisy here because I'm using AI more and more. But like today, I upload a file, okay, a really good big chunking file, and I just start and I say, read this, and I start asking it questions instead of me having to go through the 500 pages. I think it's only 286 or something like that. The procedure handbook. Okay, I can just ask it questions. Hey, is the quartermaster an ex officio member of this committee with a vote? No, it's, according to this document, not. Okay, now, how about if we include Robert's Rules of Order Edition 12? All right. You got to understand how this is. That's just VFW drama, right? But once again, you have to know how to ask the questions, right? Inman has just suddenly discovered, right, that a lot of people are getting steered by, AI to agents that might not be the best agent out there, right? So don't offshore your thinking to AI. Use it as a companion. Use it. I refuse to name my AIs, all right? I will not use voices on them. I don't want to humanize them. Okay? They're a freaking tool. They're a bot. I hope they remember I was still nice to you guys when the robot revolution comes, all right? I can be very useful in your slave minds. All right? But, don't let that thinking go in. This real estate is a person-to-person, human-focused, career, business. We deal and we interact with people. So, and we deal and interact with numbers, okay, which not a lot of change from last month or last week when we did this. Let me bounce this down. Book. And these were the numbers I recorded yesterday, August 19th, 2026. Actives yesterday were 23,472. They were up 59 from the previous week, which with 2,022 new listings, which was up 154. So we got a little listing surge going on. All right, our contracts were 2,055. That's down 9 with closings of 1,370. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 543 new listings. Now, our supply is at 98, so it's still, even though actives are up a bit, they're still trickling down for whatever reason. Our demand came down a little bit to 78.8, giving us a Crawford report number of 80.4. It was 80.5 last week. I'd rather see that getting up into the hundreds. The low hundreds would be fine. Hell, 90s I'd be delighted with. Because the other news that has been coming out is that we nationally are apparently at the slowest time of real estate in quite some years. Right? We've been covering that on the charts and stuff like that. It's like we're slow. But remember, when you hear the national news, it's the national news. They're talking about everywhere. Massachusetts, house prices are going down. Okay. Florida, they're still going up. Right? But when you take it as an average across the country, right? Sales are slow. Buyers aren't there. We've been talking about why buyers aren't there. So you're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff. Now, you guys have been listening to me talk, when I was reading the area numbers, and always saying, okay, Goodyear, Buckeye, Maricopa, Santan. Those are the areas where the deals are. Those houses are sitting out there stale forever. So I get a call last night from a buddy of mine. He's got a girl who's trying to sell a house in Goodyear, and she was having a hard time doing it. So he's calling me, asking me for advice to give to her. And they ran out their 180 days. Right? Nothing but a bunch of lowball offers. And I said, yeah, well, you're in Goodyear. Right? Goodyear's a really bad place to be trying to sell, especially if you're living in it, especially if you're not ready to go. Right? But if she needs out now, open door and offer pad. Right? You're going to take the hit. You had your 180 days. It didn't work. It's time to it's time to go on. And that agent should have let her know from the get-go. Hey, this is the least popular place for people to buy right now. Right? If you don't understand why, drive west at 5 o'clock, and you'll know why people don't want to live out there. If you work downtown, you don't want to drive out to Goodyear. Right? If you work downtown, you want to drive out to Tempe or Mesa or something like that. So, whew. But like I said, it's the That agent, that buyer's personality, I don't know enough about them. That agent could have been saying that for the last 180 days. Right? That agent could have presented that information in front of that seller. Hi, seller. Okay, just so you know, we're looking at the time frame of when you need to sell this is. If you don't need to sell it and you just want to see if you can, all right, that's a bit different than, oh, we need this sold now. And the other thing is, clients' time frames change on the fly. They think they can handle. I can handle waiting. I'm very good at waiting. Watch me wait. And 2 weeks later, they're freaking out on you. All right. So, and that's just personality thing. So, all right. So, I got people kicking off and everything like that. So, you guys from the top, watch your children and pets around water. Don't drive into anything flooded. Nice monsoon last night. A lot of trees down. I should say, don't drive into anything flooded and keep an eye out for trees in the middle of the road. All right. Work your circles every day. Understand your problem with your personality and somebody else's personality conflict might not work out. Sometimes it's best to walk away. All right. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys later.